Imagine you're standing on a two-lane desert highway in southern Nevada, 1952. The sun has just dropped behind the Spring Mountains, and the sky burns copper and violet above the Mojave. The air is still over 100 degrees, dry as paper, heavy with the smell of hot asphalt and sage. You're looking south down a stretch of road they call the Strip, and what you see makes no sense. Rising out of absolute nothing, out of sand and creosote brush, there are buildings wrapped in light. Neon tubes twist into shapes you've never seen before, pink and turquoise and electric gold, humming and buzzing against the darkening sky. Every sign is bigger than the last, each one screaming for your attention from a mile away. The Flamingo, the Desert Inn, the Sahara, the Sands. Names written in light, in letters 30, 40, 50 feet tall, glowing so bright they turn the desert floor into colored glass. This is not a city. Not yet. This is a fever dream someone built in the middle of nowhere. And right now, in 1952, it is the most exciting place on Earth. You don't know it yet, but everything you're looking at will be erased. The Strip stretches about 4 miles along what is officially called Las Vegas Boulevard South. But in 1952, it's barely a road, 2 lanes of blacktop connecting Los Angeles to the desert. On either side, the original resort hotels sit low and spread wide across the sand, 1 or 2 stories at most. The El Rancho Vegas opened first back in 1941, a Western-themed lodge with a windmill tower lined in neon you could spot from 3 miles out. Next came the Last Frontier, then the Flamingo in 1946, then the Thunderbird, then the Desert Inn in 1950. Each one larger than the last, each one more audacious, but all of them still human-scaled. You can see the desert from every window. You can smell the sage from the pool deck. The architecture is mid-century modern meets frontier. Fantasy, long horizontal lines, glass walls, kidney-shaped swimming pools, turquoise against the brown sand. At night, the neon transforms everything into something electric, otherworldly, alive. The sand sign rises 56 feet on a single pylon, script neon letters against a rectangular grid cantilevered into the dark sky. Down the road, the Sahara's sign features a massive camel and Moroccan-inspired lettering that glows amber and crimson. These signs aren't advertisements. They are architecture, they are art, and they are the soul of this place. Behind each sign is a craftsman you'll never meet, working in a shop on the outskirts of town. He takes a straight glass tube, heats it over an open flame until it glows orange, and bends it by hand into the curve of a letter. Each tube is filled with gas, neon for red and orange, argon with mercury for blue and green, and sealed at both ends. When electricity hits the gas, the tube comes alive, radiating color that can be seen for miles across flat desert. The sand sign alone contains over 300 individual tubes, each one shaped by hand, each one a small act of craftsmanship. A single mistake, one tube bent at the wrong angle, one seal that leaks, and the whole letter goes dark. These men don't call themselves artists. They call themselves sign benders. But what they do is closer to sculpture than manufacturing. They work in 100-degree heat with open flames, shaping molten glass with nothing but their hands and a set of calipers. The signs they build are designed to burn for years without maintenance, engineered to withstand desert wind and summer heat. Every casino on the Strip is in a neon arms race, each one commissioning bigger, brighter, more elaborate signs than the last. The sign companies compete for contracts the way architects compete for buildings, with models and renderings and bold promises. This is the golden age of neon, and Las Vegas is its cathedral. Walk through the front doors of the Sands Hotel any evening in 1953 and feel it hit you. The air conditioning strikes your face like a wall of silk after the 100-degree heat outside. Inside, the Copa Room is filling up, 200 seats arranged around a stage no bigger than a boxing ring. Men in sharkskin suits and narrow ties order martinis straight up from waitresses in satin. Women in cocktail dresses, pearls catching the low amber light, lean close to whisper across small round tables. The ashtrays are crystal. The carpet is thick enough to sleep on. The ceiling is low and intimate. There is a sound to this room that doesn't exist anymore. The clink of heavy glass, the shuffle of cards from the casino floor bleeding through the walls, laughter that carries. On any given night, you might spot a senator at one table, a studio executive at another, a man whose name you'd rather not ask about in the corner booth. This is the room where legends are being built, where careers launch and fortunes vanish between midnight and dawn. Outside, the swimming pool glows turquoise under underwater lights, and guests float on their backs staring up at stars you can't see in any city. A bartender by the pool mixes something strong with crushed ice, while a woman in a white swimsuit reads a paperback with her feet in the water. Nobody is in a hurry. Nobody is anywhere else. This is the only place that matters tonight. Step outside, and the desert heat wraps around you like a blanket pulled from an oven. But even at midnight, the strip is alive. Headlights crawling past in both directions, chrome bumpers reflecting the neon above. Couples walk between casinos in the warm, dark air, the women's heels clicking on the sidewalk, the men's jacket sleeves pushed up against the heat. From every open door comes a different sound, a different color of light, a different promise. The Desert Inn's pool parties run past 2 in the morning, guests floating in water lit from below, while a jazz trio plays on the deck. The Flamingo's garden paths wind through tropical landscaping that has no business existing in a desert, imported palms and birds of paradise blooming under colored spotlights. At the Sahara, the casino floor is a fog of cigarette smoke and perfume, the roulette wheels clicking, the slot machines ringing, the dealers' hands moving like magicians. This is the era of the $2 prime rib dinner, the complimentary cocktail, the showroom ticket that costs less than a movie. The old operators understood something that no spreadsheet would ever capture. Generosity is the best marketing. Keep the guest happy. Keep the guest fed. Keep the guest drinking. Keep the guest at the table. The money will come. It always comes. And for now, in the 1950s, it comes in rivers. And then there are the showrooms, the real reason people drive 5 hours across the desert from Los Angeles. On any given week in 1958, you can see the biggest names in American entertainment performing in rooms smaller than a high school gymnasium. The Copa Room at the Sands seats 200. The Painted Desert Room at the Desert Inn holds maybe 300. These are not stadiums. These are living rooms with a liquor license, and the proximity is the entire point. You sit close enough to see the sweat on the performer's forehead, close enough to catch the wink directed at the table behind you. The performers do 2 shows a night, sometimes 3, midnight shows that don't start until 1 in the morning. Between sets, they walk through the casino, drink at the bar, sit at the blackjack table next to the same people who just watched them perform. The barrier between audience and artist barely exists. The barrier between famous and anonymous dissolves in whiskey and warm desert air. There is a conductor in the Copa Room who has held that position for years, a man who knows every performer's tempo, every breath, every pause. The house band doesn't rehearse. They don't need to. They've played together so many nights that the music happens by feel, by instinct, by trust. This is live entertainment at its most intimate, its most electric, its most human. Nothing being built today will ever replicate what happens in these rooms on any given Tuesday night. But look closer at who built all of this, and you find a different story underneath the glamour. The money behind these resorts didn't come from banks or investors on Wall Street. Traditional lenders wouldn't touch gambling ventures, not in the 1940s, not in the 1950s. So the financing came from somewhere else, from men connected to organized crime families in Chicago, New York, Cleveland, and Miami. The operation worked through something they called the skim, a system where cash was pulled from casino counting rooms before it ever reached the official books. Couriers carried suitcases of unreported cash on flights back east, enough to fund entire criminal operations across the country. The men who ran the floor wore tuxedos and smiled for photographs, but behind the kitchen doors, the accounting was different. The Flamingo started this pattern. The man who finished building it was connected to organized crime himself, and 6 months after opening night, he was gone forever, age 41. After that, every major resort on the Strip had similar financing arrangements: the Sands, the Dunes, the Riviera, the Tropicana, the Stardust. Las Vegas was what they called an open city, meaning more than 24 crime families from coast to coast had representatives operating here simultaneously. Nobody talked about it. Everybody knew. And the strange truth was this: under that arrangement, the casinos ran beautifully, the entertainment was world-class, and the guests had the time of their lives. By 1958, the Strip has 12 major resort hotels, and every one of them is trying to outdo the rest. The Stardust opens with the largest sign anyone has ever seen, 188 feet of neon stretching down the road, spelling the name in what looks like an actual shower of falling stars. You can see it from over 3 miles away, a constellation built by human hands, burning against the black desert sky. But something is shifting underneath all this neon spectacle. The Kefauver Committee hearings in Washington have put the national spotlight on organized crime, and suddenly everyone is asking questions about where the money comes from. The State Gaming Commission is under pressure to clean up the industry, to make it look legitimate. Behind the closed doors of the counting rooms, the men who built this empire can feel the ground moving. They don't know it yet, but the era they created, this specific, unrepeatable version of Las Vegas, has maybe 15 years left. The neon will keep burning, the showrooms will keep filling, the pools will keep glowing turquoise at midnight, but the forces that will destroy everything are already gathering, wearing suits, carrying briefcases, working in corporate boardrooms 1,000 miles from the desert. The Strip doesn't know it yet. But the Strip is already dying. 1966. A private train arrives at the Desert Inn rail siding after midnight. Inside is a man who hasn't been seen in public in years, a reclusive billionaire arriving in total secrecy. He checks into the top 2 floors of the Desert Inn and refuses to come out. Days pass, then weeks, then months. The hotel management politely asks him to leave because they need the suites for high-rolling gamblers during New Year's. His response is to buy the entire hotel for $14 million. Then he buys the Sands for another $14.6 million. Then the Frontier for $23 million. Then the Landmark. Between 1967 and 1970, one man spends $300 million buying up Las Vegas. He's not connected to any crime family. He's not interested in the skim. He doesn't even gamble. What he wants is something different: legitimacy, respectability, corporate structure. And what he sets in motion cannot be stopped. Because in 1967, the same year the buying spree begins, the Nevada State Legislature passes the Corporate Gaming Act. This single piece of legislation changes everything. It allows publicly traded companies to own and operate casinos without licensing every individual shareholder. The door that was always closed to corporate America is now wide open, and money pours through it. Through the 1970s, Wall Street begins flowing into Las Vegas for the first time. Corporations don't operate the way the old operators did, with handshake deals and cash in suitcases. They operate with spreadsheets, quarterly earnings reports, shareholder meetings, efficiency audits. The first thing they notice is that the old casinos are inefficient by corporate standards. The showrooms lose money on purpose because they draw gamblers to the tables. That's how the old operators designed it. The restaurants serve prime rib for $2 because cheap food keeps people in the building longer. The pools are staffed with attendants who know your name because personal service builds loyalty. None of this makes sense on a balance sheet. None of this satisfies shareholders demanding returns. The Gaming Commission, meanwhile, is systematically purging anyone with organized crime connections. By the early 1980s, the mob has mostly disappeared from the city's operation, and with them goes something nobody measured on any spreadsheet: the soul of the place. Walk into the dunes in 1985 and you can feel it coming. The carpet hasn't been replaced in years. The chandeliers are dusty. The showroom books acts nobody's heard of. Revenue is declining because the building itself is aging, and the new corporate properties have bigger rooms, bigger pools, bigger everything. But the bones of the dunes are still beautiful. The swooping mid-century roofline, the Sultan statue out front, 30 feet tall with a curved scimitar. The dunes opened in 1955 and survived 3 decades of competition, ownership changes, and financial crisis. Now it belongs to a developer who sees the land underneath it as worth more than the building on top of it. This is the new math of Las Vegas. The value of a property is measured not by what stands on it, but by what could replace it. Heritage, architecture, history, identity, none of these appear on a corporate balance sheet. The Dunes doesn't know it yet, but it has 8 years left. Across the Strip, the same calculation is being made for the Sands, for the Desert Inn, for the Hacienda, for the Stardust. Every original resort is being quietly appraised, not for what it is, but for the land beneath it. The wrecking ball is being polished. The dynamite is being ordered. The old Las Vegas is being measured for its coffin. October 27, 1993. It happens in front of 200,000 people. The Dunes North Tower stands against the night sky for the last time, 38 years of history lit up in spotlights. A developer has turned the demolition into a promotional event for his new pirate-themed resort a mile north. On his command, a replica pirate ship fires its cannons toward the dunes in a theatrical display. Then 365 pounds of dynamite detonate simultaneously, and 550 gallons of aviation fuel ignite. Fireballs race up the east face of the tower, floor by floor, orange and yellow against the black sky. The building shudders once, then folds in on itself, floors pancaking downward in a cascade of concrete and dust. The crowd cheers. They actually cheer. 200,000 people watching 38 years of memory become rubble. The dust cloud rolls across the Strip like a desert storm, coating everything in gray, powder. Where the dunes stood moments ago, there is nothing, just a pile of broken concrete and twisted steel. The developer stands before cameras smiling, promising something bigger, something better, something newer. Behind him, the dust is still settling on everything the dunes ever was. And it doesn't stop. It never stops. The demolitions become a Las Vegas tradition, a spectacle all their own. November 1996, the Hacienda comes down on New Year's Eve, turned into a fireworks show for tourists counting down to midnight. The same month, the Sands falls. The Sands. The room where the greatest performers of the 20th century stood on that little Copa Room stage. The building where proposals happened, and deals were struck and music filled the desert night for 44 years. Gone in 17 seconds. A cloud of dust, and then the Venetian's construction crews arrive before the rubble is cold. 2001, the Desert Inn's Augusta Tower comes down. 2004, the second tower follows. The resort where a billionaire recluse once bought an entire hotel because he didn't want to check out, reduced to a flat lot for a new development. 2007, the Stardust. That sign, 188 feet of falling neon stars, the most beautiful sign ever built. The letters were rescued by the Neon Museum for over $150,000, saved from the wreckage like artifacts pulled from a burning library. But the building, the rooms, the showroom, the pool where people fell in love under stars, both real and electric, all of it gone. Each implosion takes less than 20 seconds. Each one erases decades of memory in a cloud of gray dust. And each one is cheered by crowds gathered on the sidewalk like a celebration. What strikes you about the implosions isn't the violence of them. It's how fast the absence arrives. One moment the sands is there, that sign rising against the sky. 44 years of accumulated life inside those walls. The next moment there is a sound like thunder, a cloud of gray powder, and then nothing. The parking lot across the street is already being measured for the new foundation before the dust clears. Construction crews in hard hats and orange vests stand at the perimeter, waiting, watching the demolition the way runners watch a starting pistol. The moment the all-clear sounds, they move in. Bulldozers push the rubble into piles. Trucks haul it away by the ton. Within weeks, the site is a flat rectangle of brown dirt, as if the building never existed at all. No ceremony, no marker, no plaque saying what stood here and for how long and what it meant. Just dirt, and then concrete, and then the foundation of something new, something taller, something that we'll never know what it replaced. The Venetian rises where the sand stood and offers gondola rides through an indoor canal painted to look like Venice. The Bellagio rises where the dune stood and shoots. Water 150 feet into the air every 15 minutes. The new buildings have no memory. They don't even pretend to. Stand on the modern Las Vegas Strip today and try to find anything from before 1967. The Flamingo still exists in name, but the original building was demolished and rebuilt so many times that nothing from 1946 remains. The Tropicana, the last true survivor of the 1950s Strip, was imploded in 2024, its site cleared for a baseball stadium. Where the sand stood, there is now the Venetian, a 3,000-suite Italian-themed mega resort with canals and gondola rides. Where the dunes stood, there is the Bellagio, its famous fountains dancing over the grave of everything that came before. Where the Desert Inn stood, there is Wynn Las Vegas, gleaming bronze glass reflecting a desert the building pretends doesn't exist. Where the Stardust burned its 188 feet of falling stars, there is now Resorts World, opened in 2021. The new Strip is taller, wider, more expensive, more efficient in every measurable way. The hotels have 5,000 rooms instead of 500. The pools are the size of small lakes. The restaurants are branded by celebrity chefs instead of serving $2 prime rib. Every surface is calculated, optimized, designed to maximize revenue per square foot. And not a single inch of it will ever make anyone stop their car on a desert highway and stare in wonder. The Neon Museum sits at the north end of the Strip, in a place they call the Boneyard. More than 250 old signs rest here in an open-air lot, leaning against each other like headstones in a graveyard. The Stardust letters, rescued during demolition, sit under desert sun, their neon tubes dark and cracked. Pieces of the sand, sign that inspired the museum's own entrance, archway, lie in the dust. Fragments of the Desert Inn, the Sahara, the Riviera, all gathered. Here, like bones collected after a massacre. At night, the museum illuminates some of them with ground lighting, and for a moment you can almost see what they used to be. Almost. But a sign without its building is like a voice without a body. These signs were designed to be seen from 3 miles away, blazing against desert darkness, promising something extraordinary. Now they sit in a yard, beautiful and broken, advertising nothing to nobody. The museum calls it preservation, and it is. It's the best anyone could do. But walking through the Boneyard at night, surrounded by the ghosts of dead neon, you don't feel preservation. You feel loss. What vanished from the Las Vegas Strip wasn't just buildings and neon signs. It was a specific idea about what entertainment could be, intimate and excessive simultaneously. The Copa Room held 200 people. 200. Close enough to see the performer sweat under the lights. The new arenas seat 15,000. You watch the show on a screen bigger than the stage. The original pools were places where a bartender knew your drink and a towel boy remembered your name. The new pools charge $200 for a daybed and play electronic music so loud you can't think. The old casinos were designed by architects who believed a building should have personality, curves and angles and light that made you feel something. The new ones are designed by corporations who believe a building should have yield, revenue per available room, return on investment. The shift from the old strip to the new one is the same shift that happened everywhere in American culture. From personal to corporate, from character to efficiency, from something you love to something you use. The old Vegas understood that sometimes the best investment is one that doesn't make sense on paper. The new Vegas understands nothing except the paper. Could any of it have been saved? The answer is yes, easily, and that makes it worse. The Dunes was structurally sound when they blew it up. The Sands was profitable when they tore it down. The Desert Inn had been recently renovated when the decision came to demolish it for a newer, larger resort. None of these buildings fell because they had to fall. They fell because the land was worth more empty than full. Every one of them could have been adapted, preserved, incorporated into new developments the way cities preserve landmarks everywhere else. The Neon Museum exists because one woman in 1996 recognized that nobody else was going to save these signs. But there was no equivalent effort for the buildings themselves, no campaign, no preservation order, no public outcry loud enough to stop the dynamite. We watched the implosions on live television and treated them like sporting events. We counted down from 10 and cheered when the buildings dropped. We called it progress. We called it making way for the future. We called it everything except what it actually was, which was the systematic destruction of one of the most original architectural landscapes in American history. What does it say about us that we built the most extraordinary entertainment district the world had ever seen, and then blew it up for corporate mega resorts? The people who built the original strip had serious flaws. The money was dirty. The labor practices were terrible. The racial segregation was shameful and real. But they also built something no committee would ever approve and no corporation would ever fund. They built a place where a 2-lane desert highway turned into a river of liquid light, where a sign could be 188 feet tall and shaped like falling stars, where a showroom the size of a living room could hold the greatest performers alive, where you could swim in a turquoise pool at midnight and look up at real stars mixed with neon ones. That's gone now, all of it, replaced by buildings that function perfectly and inspire nothing. The fountains at the high Bellagio dance beautifully, but nobody will ever mourn them when they're gone. Nobody will build a museum to save them. Nobody will tell their grandchildren about the night they stood there watching. Because the difference between the old strip and the new one isn't size or cost or efficiency. The difference is that one was built by dreamers who were out of their minds with ambition and recklessness, and the other was built by accountants. Look at the strip tonight. It's bigger, brighter, and more profitable than the founders could have imagined. 42 million visitors a year spend tens of billions of dollars in a city that technically shouldn't exist in the middle of a desert. The new mega resorts are engineering marvels, climate-controlled cities within cities, offering everything a human being could want without ever stepping outside. But drive in from Los Angeles the way the first visitors did, down that long highway through the desert at night. Watch the horizon for that first glow of light rising against the dark mountains. And try to imagine what it felt like to see the Stardust sign for the first time, 188 feet of falling neon stars burning against absolute darkness. Not a screen, not a digital display. Hand-bent glass tubes filled with electrified gas, glowing pink and blue and white. Built by craftsmen who bent each tube by hand over an open flame, shaping light the way a sculptor shapes clay. That craft is nearly gone now. The signs are gone. The buildings are gone. The showrooms are gone. The desert highway is now a 10-lane boulevard lined with buildings so tall you can't see the mountains anymore. And somewhere in the neon boneyard, those stardust letters sit in the dust, dark and cracked, advertising nothing to nobody. Thank you for traveling back in time with me.